Off to St James's Park, two winless sides meeting there this weekend. But whereas Wolves have every right, I suppose, to be a little bit depressed, there is more optimism at Newcastle, mainly because they played quite well in some of the games so far. They've definitely looked defensively robust for the most part, especially even when you think they conceded 3 goals against Liverpool. But if you look at the XG against it, actually, they're all very, very good goals and maybe speculative efforts. Now they've got to score themselves, and they've got 2 new players in which to do it. Are we excited to see Nick Voltemata? Very different player to Isaac. Be interesting to see how he uses him. And Johan Visser. They are usually quite cautious, though, Eddie Howe and his team, about throwing people straight in, Scott. What would you think they'll be thinking going into this game? Wait till they've got up to speed? Wait till they've got into sort of Newcastle's rhythm, or throw them straight in?
Well, look, I agree with you about Newcastle and the start they made. I thought when we were asked in the pre-season pod, who would be your disappointing side? It was between Villa and Newcastle. I just thought they'd be badly affected by Isak, and I don't think they have, not in terms of performance. It depends on fitness. It depends on availability. I think to chuck Voltemada in would be, I just don't see it happening. I really don't. I could see possibly Visser, depending on how fit he is. I mean, let's not forget, only Mo Salah scored more non-penalty goals in the Premier League last season than he did. So, he's Premier League ready, but is he actually match fit right now? We'll have to wait and see. But I think Newcastle have been pretty much excellent despite the results so far this season. So if everyone's fit, it's a difficult one to call this particular weekend, Sam. Anyone going in off the back of an international break is all about just seeing where they are, doing some tests. Are you fit? If you are, yeah, we'll play. If you're a little bit low, then we're going to put someone in. So it really is where the manager has to be clever. Remember, Liverpool lost to Forest straight after the September last year. That was their first loss and only loss for a very long time. And Arne Slot certainly learned from that. So, but I think Visser more than Voltemada for sure.
Yeah, Visser was in the DR Congo team that lost to Senegal on Tuesday. Part of that team and scored in that game. Came off in the second half. So he's got some football under his belt, but obviously a lot of travelling as well. Interesting comments from the Bayern president, Uli Hoeneß, in the sort of international break about chasing Voltemada all summer. Bayern were heavily linked with him, but he told German media that actually Newcastle have paid over the odds for him. If you speak to scouts of youth football, I think they'll tell you they've liked this guy for a very, very long time. He's got good technical abilities, very good on the ball. He looks like Peter Crouch, but obviously isn't as great in the air as people would anticipate. A bit like Peter Crouch, really. Actually, Pete was much better on the floor and very good with his feet. And Voltemada is the same. And he likes to carry the ball and he chops it on his right foot and likes to bend it in the far corner. But actually, I think that the amount of money that they've spent on him says more about the market in the Premier League than it does about the player himself, Crook.
Yeah, I agree. I spoke to someone senior at another club, actually, when United paid all that money for Benjamin Šeško, which seemed on the high side. And the response I got was that is the going rate for a striker now if you're a Premier League club. I don't think they were ever going to sell him to Bayern Munich. I think there's a lot of clubs in the Bundesliga who would prefer to sell their talent abroad rather than strengthen Bayern and make them even harder to beat in that league. But it is a lot of money. I agree with you. I know that Andy Howe, who basically has been de facto director of football since Paul Mitchell left the club, likes watching youth football. He studies these under-21 tournaments and younger age groups intently. So he would have had Voltemada on his radar for some time. I slightly disagree with Scott. I think they're going to have to pitch one of these two straight in because they've played well to a point, but they need someone at the top end of the pitch to hold the ball up, to give them that outlet. And actually, Wissa 2 goals and an assist during the international break for DR Congo. That would suggest that he's pretty sharp. I think he'll play Wissa.
Did I not say that, Sam? Did I not say that? I think
you did, mate. Okay. I think you did. As usual, what he does is he doesn't listen. And I think I told you that he'd scored as well, but he had to repurpose.
No. You said he scored one goal. He actually got 2 and an assist in the 2
I said he scored 1 goal against Senegal, which he did. That was Tuesday, so it was a quick turnaround. But like, he loves a little refresh. It's what his job is. He takes people's facts in, he just gives it a little zhush and dresses it up as his own. It's fine. It's okay.
I slightly disagree with Scott, but I'm going to say what he just said. Yeah, Visser to start.
I think Bentamada might start as well. He might play them both.
Right. Okay, all right. Wolves chasing a first win themselves. They're spearheaded by Jurgen Strand Larsen, who could have been in a Newcastle shirt if things had been slightly different. But they've been really poor defensively. They conceded a lot of goals. And I think that, this is a pivotal game for both these two teams, but it's at St James's Park. I mean, this could be the Premier League side from the mid-pack that ends up dropping into a dangerous area, couldn't they, Wolverhampton Wanderers, Scott?
Well, I said in that season preview, I fancy Wolves to go down. I think to lose your best players, and that's plural, not singular. I think Vitor Pereira did a great job last season, but, he can't keep on pulling rabbits out the hat. I do worry for Wolves big time. And what I can say is, if you don't start off well, it's very difficult to turn it around. It really is.
Do you know what would worry me about Wolves? I was at the Bournemouth game and Bournemouth won 1-0, but it was a lot more comfortable than that. Vitor Pereira afterwards basically said, well, they ignored my instructions. I said, let's not play the ball into the middle of the park because that's where Bournemouth are strong. They press high, they win it back on the turnover. That's where Bournemouth goal came from. And if you speak to former coaches of Wolves, they will tell you this dressing room, once they've decided they don't fancy a particular manager anymore, they are a very difficult bunch to manage. And I just wonder if we're seeing history repeating here because the shelf life of your average Wolves manager is quite small. I think Vitor Pereira's done a great job, but those comments worried me a little bit. I do question the character.
It is interesting, though, isn't it? Because like you mentioned, you get a manager in at Wolves, they become all the rage, and then they move out very quickly. They did it with Lopetegui, actually, who managed to save them. Then you had the situation with Gary O'Neill. He did a fantastic job. And then very quickly after the second season started, that was it. He was out. Then Vitor Pereira's come in, and you're telling me he's done a fantastic job there. But, ultimately, he's now running into problems. So I do wonder whether or not the owners have got something to answer for here, because the recruitment has not been what he asked for. And I think he was pretty vocal about that prior to the end of the window. And it's a cycle. We were all surprised, actually, that they didn't sell Jurgen Strand Larsen, because Fosun, as owners of a football club, as soon as they get a sniff that they can cash in on someone, usually they're like, where shall we deliver this package to? That's the way they operate. But I fancy a big scoring game here for sure. That's for certain. There have been at least 4 goals in 3 of the matches that Wolves have played already this season. And Newcastle, with an extra bit of sharpness in attack, I think will have a little bit of fun.